morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to WCWM 90.9 FM radio in Williamsburg, Virginia. If you've been listening already, you know that my name is Jake Poppiti, and with me, of course, is that wonderful, that beloved Nathan Moe, Master at Arms and Treasurer of the William and Mary Nerf Club. Yes?
Nerf Games at William and Mary.
Nerf Games at William and Mary. My official apologies to all those people out there. Now, Nathan, before we get back to our wonderful conversation that we're having, do you have children?
I do not have children.
You do not have children?
No, I don't.
That's a real shame, I'll tell you that right now. I also don't have children, and I'm not getting to work on that anytime soon. But I'll tell you this, for all those who do have children, Students with Kids is a new organization designed to connect and lend support to William and Mary students who are also parents. That's a nice little thing right there. Students with Kids is working to bring together all those interested in being there for students with children. For more information, that's MQGARRETT at email.wm.edu. Let's hit that one more time for all those parents out there, for all those parents who are students. That is MQGARRETT, that spells Garrett, at email.wm.edu. For all those parents out there, good luck. Kids are a lot, but at least William and Mary is happy to help. All right. Now, with that being said, what were we talking? We were talking about those wonderful Nerf wars that we have.
Yes, yeah.
And we were carrying on about the Gauntlet, yes.
Yes, so last night, I mentioned earlier, was our premiere Gauntlet, which means it was our first, and thankfully not our last. Last night, the theme was zombies. As
one does.
Yeah, pretty easy to, very easy to implement. But I was with the boys last night after the Gauntlet, and we were kind of talking about, like the future of gauntlets, and so we already have a couple of the next themes in the works. One of which, the next one specifically, is going to be the USSR versus US space race.
The space race?
Yes.
So, are we actually going to be sending projectiles into the air at any point in time?
I don't think we're allowed to do that, but...
Fair enough.
If we could... that would be fun.
So the space race, like, what are some ideas that are boggling around the head for this? Can you give us a preview of what we might see?
Right, so when we come up with themes, or when I come up with themes, really what we're looking for is a way to minimize confusion, and have separate but equal teams, that have their own specific advantages. So one thing that came to mind very quickly was actually the space race with the U.S. and the USSR.
Are you saying that the USSR and the United States are equal?
I'm saying that in terms of the space race, no. Apparently, I'm being told to say no. Okay. Anyways, I wouldn't...
Officially, we've been told to say nothing about that, so please move on, Nathan.
Yes, so...
apparently the Cold War is still a hot topic to some people. Take that as you will. I'm sure Reagan is rolling around in his grave, and so is Gorbachev. Proceed.
Yes. So historically, the U.S. has had better computer technology when it comes to kind of like the space race, and the Russians have always had better rockets. This is like ask any space people that you know, and they'll
Space people.
Not ask. Yes,
space people.
Yeah. Ask any of those. Ask anybody that's really studied like aerospace engineering, and they'll tell you that during the early days of the Cold War, Russian rockets were way better than American rockets. Like it wasn't even a contest between them. In fact, they were so good that before it was JFK, right? Before JFK got assassinated, he was...
Yes, JFK was assassinated.
Yeah, no.
That's another hot topic we won't get into. Proceed.
Yeah, but before his death, he was actually in talks with the Russian premier at the time to try and see if they could...
Nikita Khrushchev.
Yeah, to see if they could combine their efforts in space. Like this would... I believe this was after the moon landing was already accomplished, but I believe that the U.S. still wanted to do some things. And even now to this day, when we send astronauts up to the ISS, it's always through Russian airspace. So
It's always Russian airspace.
It's always Russian airspace. When they come back down too, as well, it's always Russian airspace.
I never knew that, actually.
Yeah.
I'm sure space people could tell me more.
Yeah, the U.S. government has decided a while back that going to space was an expensive endeavor, and that if we were to continue doing that, we would do that through international means. So.
Yeah, that's fair.
But the next Gauntlet would be focused during kind of that period of time when the U.S. and the USSR were still kind of competing to be like first ones out to space. So obviously, we don't need to stick true to our timeline. A lot of the story that I was thinking about was that we would have these like two opposing like space crews, right? We would have the U.S., we'd have the USSR, and the first game of the night would be another warm-up game. It would be a game mode that we've never played before called Presidential Race.
A game mode that we've never seen before.
We will depending on how tonight goes, we might try playtesting it tonight. But essentially,
I'm definitely coming tonight. That's all I know.
But anyways, if you remember our game mode Protect the President, where there's one team with a designated like leader or president.
Yeah.
They're trying
an escort mission.
Kind of an escort mission, but in Presidential Race, you have two of those same teams, and they're kind of like roaming around the building, trying to find each other, getting into small skirmishes, backing off, and just trying to whittle each other down until they can get to those leaders.
So the Cold War.
Quite, yes.
Okay.
Essentially,
Literally the Cold War, but Nerf.
Yeah. Presidential Race was thought up of our lieutenant, Jeffrey Bailey, who's been doing a lot of like game design work for the club, and so that one was one of his design, and so we're very excited to see how it goes tonight. But it would start off with like.
So I know who to blame if it doesn't go well.
Yes, but don't be too hard on him.
Okay.
So,
well, if you're out there, just letting you know, Nathan has made you a scapegoat, and I'm very sorry for what happens to you. But proceed, Nathan.
Yeah. So it would start off with these two teams, like Russians versus the U.S.
Yes.
And being presidents is a little too on the nose. So these would be like space crew. That's about. It would be about two opposing space crews that are about to launch into space and try and establish the first colony on the moon.
I see.
Any space people out there will tell me it's probably not the best idea to make a space colony on the moon with our current technology, but
who cares?
But who cares?
This is a Nerf battle. We are not actually trying to colonize the moon.
Exactly. So the first part of it, you start out on Earth, like you're gonna kind of fight for it. Last night in the Gauntlet, we were doing these. We were doing kind of like consequences for winning or losing games. So if you like lost a game, the enemy would get a bonus. If you won the game, you would get a bonus. And so with these kinds of things, like I'm thinking that like some of these game modes, like one of the advantages of winning that first game would probably be like an early launch bonus. So a lot of our games require both teams to like go at the same time, just to keep it fair. But that's a mechanic that I've always wanted to like really play around with, and like these gauntlets are giving me that opportunity to do that. So yeah. So if we ran that future gauntlet, I think we would actually be in a different building other than McLaughlin.
What would be the best building for the space race?
Actually, it would be the building that we're in right now, which would be Campus Center.
Campus Center. Campus Center would be the...
I'm not allowed to say... Okay, cool.
No, I'm just confused.
So, yeah. So, all right.
You're allowed to say the word Campus Center, I think. You can say it as much as you want.
I am allowed to say the word campus.
I don't know how that's controversial, but...
So,
our producer is nodding at us for a second. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Proceed.
So, Campus Center, in terms of a building, it has about a similar uniqueness as McLaughlin. It is asymmetrical. it has these really long, straight tunnels.
I love a good straight tunnel.
Yeah, but the difference between these tunnels and Jones Hall is that they're much, much wider.
Oh, I see.
So a lot of the issues that we come up with in Jones Hall is that it inadvertently becomes a bottleneck, it inadvertently becomes a bottleneck because while the hallways are long, they're also kind of narrow, and so when you're trying to get anywhere, it's really hard to do so. And the fact that there are natural crevices makes it so that people are less inclined to try and like do risky moves and like push up and like kind of this run and blast kind of play style.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
But out here in Campus Center, while the hallways are really long, they're also really wide. So having those tunnels be this wide will really encourage people to kind of like try and make like dashes for it, because I don't know if all of you know this, but Nerf blasters are not the most accurate. Nerf darts are not the most accurate projectile.
You're telling me that a children's toy is not the most accurate weapon that we have at our disposal. You know, that's a real surprise to me, ladies and gentlemen. It's very unfortunate. I've been standing about 100 feet away and hoping something hits. But you were saying?
Yeah. So having these wide hallways I think will really impact how people like try and play the game. So we're really looking forward to the. When we start planning for this next Gauntlet, it'll probably again be on a Friday evening, unless Gauntlets get so popular that we replace one meeting that we replace 2 meetings per semester with a Gauntlet.
It's not a bad thought. Not a bad thought.
It's not a bad thought, but we haven't moved forward with that idea just yet. So we'll see how it goes. But I think Campus Center would definitely be our number one location for the Space Race Gauntlet.
I hope it goes to your success. That does sound interesting. Now, can I suggest a game mode?
Yes, you may.
All right. Have you ever seen James Bond? I love James Bond.
Which era?
Roger Moore.
I have not.
You've not seen the Roger Moore era?
Unfortunately not, no.
The cheesy 80s and 70s. It was fantastic, you know. Roger Moore getting around, you know. I can't do the voice. But there he did this film. Can we talk about a film? Okay, we can talk about. Sorry, I got to look at the producer to see if we're infringing copyright. Anyway, it's not that great of a film, so I don't know who's infringing it. But if you ever seen the book was fantastic. The movie, Sunderkite. I'll say that much. It's Sard. Alternative swears right there. But there was a film, Moonraker. The film James Bond Moonraker, and actually the book is about the space race and rockets. But the film, because Star Wars just came out at the time, it was like 1978, I think, when the Moonraker came out, year after Star Wars. They decided, let's make it a film where James Bond is in space, and you know, there's a space station, and Bond has a laser gun, and it's the most ridiculous. He's riding around Venice and suddenly he's in space. I don't know how that happens, but God bless
all
James
in a
Bond.
day's work for an international super spy, you know?
Yeah, all in a day's work. I don't know how he got down is my question, but thank God he's still alive and still kicking it, unless you've seen the new film. Now, so with that being said, might I suggest a James Bond game? I have no idea how this is going to work.
James Bond game mode.
A James Bond game mode for the space race, because it is Cold War.
That's true.
It is Cold War. I think one of the big thing about the Cold War is, of course, spies, espionage. I hear it everywhere because I from the CIA, despite the fact I know no one in the CIA, that they're really sad that the Cold War is over and they miss the days of getting a tuxedo, gambling, drinking vodka martinis, and fighting KGB operatives. But once again, I'm just guessing that's what they think. I have no idea what they actually do think. But do you think that's possible? Could we do a game mode like that?
Oh, absolutely. With the Space Race Gauntlet specifically, each gauntlet is supposed to have kind of its own like unique flavor to it.
I see.
With last night's, that unique flavor was number one, the element of danger, which might actually become a staple of all gauntlets, where after the call is made to return to the room, combat is still active, which means that it's up to you to try and get there without losing your life. And so that might be a staple of all gauntlets upcoming in the future. But the real unique flavor of last night was the addition of multiple lives and being able to be turned to the other team. Now that one, we encountered a couple of issues with that, but overall everyone had a good time. If we try a similar one in the future, maybe like next year or 2 years down the line, I think a lot of people really like understand a lot better.
Yeah.
But other than that, the gauntlet went smoothly. And so for the Space Race Gauntlet, we have this mechanic in Nerf Club where we have quote-unquote secret roles. So a couple of our games incorporate this kind of like secret role kind of mechanic. So, and with like the Cold War being all about like espionage and stuff, like,
Yes.
having players on your team that you can't fully trust, or not trusting anyone on your team. Now that would be a game mode. And so when we do that Space Race Gauntlet, that will probably be its unique flavor.
I like that.
Since defecting from one
Yeah.
side to the other, while fun, gets a little confusing, especially if teams are supposed to be balanced.
That's true. I will say one concern that I do have with future gauntlets. I don't know if you got an answer to this. But like a big thing with like the human and zombie ones, very good practical idea, especially if you get, you got the lives and you get shot. Because if you're you get shot with enough Nerf darts and you die, instead of getting out of the game, you suddenly become a zombie.
Yeah.
Like that's a good mechanic. I like that. People are still playing. People are still in it. Now the thing is with the space race is. There's no zombies, so I don't know what's going to happen to me after I die. So do you have an answer to this concern? Because I know a lot of people, they just want to play. People love to play.
Yeah. I understand that. One main way that we get around this is by playing games that don't have you like dying outright. So
That's
a lot of these team games are respawn based. So that is one thing that we'll probably be doing. Another thing that we may play with, and don't tell anyone else other than everyone that's listening on the air right now. But
no one else listening except the public. Yes, proceed.
We may play around with a third faction called Aliens.
Oh, heck yes.
So the U.S. and the USSR make it all the way to the moon, and they discover that
it's not made of cheese.
it's not made of cheese. And number two, Neil Armstrong wasn't going to the moon; he was going home.
Okay, that's a hot take. I don't think we can talk about Neil Armstrong right now. But yeah, he was going home. You're saying Neil Armstrong is an alien?
Well, if you spell it backwards.
I can't spell that backwards. That's his alien. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you heard here from Nathan Schofer, Nathan Moe first, that Neil Armstrong spelled backwards is apparently his alien name, and So
It's a running joke among the space community.
it's a running joke amongst the space people.
I mean, Neil A spelled backwards is alien.
Oh, that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay, that matches because
Yeah.
I was starting with Armstrong. And I'm like, G. What is G gonna do with?
Anyways, yeah. So we may play around with that. Don't get anyone. No one get your hopes up because it's still a work in progress. But if we find a way to make it practically work, we will make it practically work. That's kind of the. That is not the motto of Nerf Club. We actually don't have a motto, but we do have a.
We should get one of those.
We actually had a we had a motto proposed by our vice president Jonathan Newby, because we recently had a. I don't know how this factored in, but we recently had a Russian House X Nerf event, where
A Russian House X Nerf event.
yeah, where we were out on the Sunken Gardens and we played a couple of rounds of like actual capture the flag, not Nerf capture the flag, so it went like really smoothly.
Yeah.
It was Bolsheviks versus proletariats. It was about the Russian Civil War, like
So, right, yeah.
like a quote unquote reenactment.
The reenactment of the Russian Revolution for
Exactly.
all those revolutionaries and communists out there, if you'd like to participate.
It might become a recurring event. We don't know yet. But anyways, he got the idea that we should make a motto. And so the current working motto is Nerf Club. It might not change your life, but it might just make your night.
That's a good one. That's a good
Yeah,
one.
it's a good motto. So.
That's a good motto. I was thinking there was a fencing motto. I like fencing. What is it? Come to fencing, make friends, and then stab them. I think come to Nerf, make friends, and then shoot them.
Exactly. I mean, we actually have there's a large overlap with fencing people and with Nerf people.
Yeah.
I know off the top of my head about like maybe 2 or 3 people that are in the fencing club and also
Yeah.
come to Nerf. So we're just waiting for the day that there's a fencing takeover.
That's fair enough. Are you concerned with the amount of violence that people are now interested? Because if they're fencing and they're also doing Nerf Club, I'm getting now a little bit concerned about their pastimes.
As long as they're not also part of the archery club, I think we're in the clear.
That's okay. If they're not also part of the archery club, you know what? I'm not going to even go into that one. Oh Lord. All right.
Yeah, so humans versus aliens is an idea that we're going to play with. Although, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We may have to make it so that aliens are their own separate faction that has already been like pre-decided, kind of like zombies last night.
Yeah.
Where we take like a group of like highly skilled individuals and have them be like kind of a chaos crew running around and sowing havoc between these two groups.
That's fair. And do you think perhaps we could have some secret players be aliens? Like, for instance, on each side, we had alien infiltrators or something like that.
Absolutely. So, one of the main things about the Gauntlet is that a lot more of it was under our direct control than people originally realized. We kind of want to continue doing that, where it's almost not PvP, it's almost PvE, where it's players versus enemies instead of players versus players, because we had a little mini discussion in the executive group chat where we were like, it seems like a lot of people really enjoyed the Gauntlet because it was a cooperative event rather than a competitive event, even though in nature it was competitive by itself, but like it was humans competitively working together towards a common goal. And so you have a lot less people being like a little upset that they might not have won a game or anything. So
Yeah.
we were talking about like the future of Gauntlets. We wouldn't be surprised if Gauntlets actually became more popular than our regular Nerf meetings.
I mean, they are a special event.
They are a special event, so we'll keep rolling them out as long as people keep coming.
That's great to hear, Nathan. All right, it's about 11:04, ladies and gentlemen. So I think we're going to wrap it up for today with What's Poppin' with Poppiti. I, of course, Jake Poppiti, with me, my special guest, Nathan Moe. Thank you so much for coming out, Nathan.
Thank you for having me on.
Of course. And let's plug that Nerf Club one more time. If you're interested in making friends and then suddenly shooting them with a Nerf gun, then please, I'm telling you, it's a great event. You're going to love it. Great for couples night. Tonight, Saturday, at 8 p.m. to whenever they want to stop. The Nerf, what is it called again?
Nerf Games at William & Mary.
Nerf Games at William & Mary. Jones Hall, the math building. People who are in the know are in the know. So, once again, thank you so much for coming on, Nathan Moe.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, as we're going out, you have been listening to WCWM 90.9 FM in Williamsburg, Virginia. I've been Jake Poppiti, and we're going to play you out with Barry White, Can't Get Enough of Your Love, Babe.